Hey guys, it's Chuck Schlinkman, one of the techs at the Manheim Auto Auction Body Shop. I'm going to take you through the steps of final prime and paint of the 65 Daytona. After all the body work was complete and everything looked good and fit right, the car went back to the paint booth for a final coat of primer to even everything out. After that, the car was then wet sanded with 4 and 6 and 800 grit sandpaper to prepare it for paint. The whole car was wiped down with a wax and grease remover, and all the dust and anything that was on it was blown off. Prior to painting, we had to attach the doors to metal racks so that we could spray all the way around at once to avoid any edges. We also had to come up with a way to set the spoiler up so that we could do the same thing. There's no real hang point for the spoiler and we couldn't lay it flat, so we had to get a little crafty. After the doors and the spoiler were secured to their stands, we rolled those parts over to the paint booth and loaded them in. The car was then wiped down again with a tack cloth that removes any fine pieces of dust and dirt and debris to make sure you have a clean paint job. After the car was all wiped down and tacked off, 2 coats of a gray base coat were applied. After the gray base coat was dry, the car was tacked off to keep removing any kind of dirt or dust that's in the air. Next, 3 coats of a dark blue pearl were applied. After the blue was dry, 3 coats of clear were applied to the car. After the 3 coats of clear were applied, the car sat for 3 days to allow all the material to dry. After the 3 days, when the car was dry, it was wet sanded with 1500 grit, 3000 grit, and 5000 grit sandpaper. And then a machine buff and polish was done to all the parts to bring the shine up and to get rid of any dirt or orange peel to give the car the mirror finish that it has. The chassis was brought back down to the body shop so that we could do the final fitment and installation of all the body parts, the doors and spoiler. All of the aluminum pieces on the inside of the car that come in contact with the fiberglass portion of the body had a rubber bulb seal placed on it to limit rattling. After that, it took a few people to get the rear section of the body on. We secured that down. We put on the hood, got that all secured down. We then hung the doors and reinstalled the door handle mechanical components so that the doors open and close. We also installed the hood latches, and we also installed the spoiler. And finally, the gas cap was installed and screwed into place. We installed the exhaust on the Daytona, and after that, we had to start it to hear what it sounded like. After all the parts were installed, we went around the door jambs and the hood jamb with a rubber weather strip, and we installed the tail lights, the turn signals, the license plate bracket and light. We also installed the headlights and front turn signals. The left and right side of the car received small Lexan windows. They came very oversized and misshaped. We had to trace and grind and reshape them to fit. The very edge of the window was masked off, sanded, and painted black, and then screwed them into place. On the hood, we installed steel mesh in the vent portions on the left and right side of the hood. To do that, paint sticks were used with zip ties to hold the mesh in place, and then on the underside, a high-strength adhesive was used to hold them in place. After the adhesive dried, a black seam sealer was applied around the edges on the underside of the hood to finish off and give it a completed look. After that, we had to drill holes in the bottom edges of the hood on the left and right, and also in the pontoons to install guide pins that keep the hood in place when you shut it. So that completes the 6 weeks for the bodywork and paint portion of the project. Now it's up to the mechanics for the final assembly.